Hey guys, so I wanted to have a little chit chat. Excuse me if I look all homely. I'm like sitting in my bed after I just worked out and drank this huge smoothie that I put into a racetrack cup, but and some toast. Anywho, one of the things I wanted to share or just kind of chat it out is something that my divine team has called the freedom paradigm. Stop moving the camera. Oops. Okay. And this freedom paradigm that my divine team has been guiding me into over the past year or more is really quite, I wouldn't say it's radical, but in the eyes of normal human life here on planet Earth, it's quite radical in comparison. And I don't really hear many people talking about it. I only know of a few spiritual teachers and a couple friends who are getting a little bit glimpses of that, that are actually talking about it, that I follow. And it's a different way of living. And it's something that is really different from the make it happen energy that is predominant on our planet. Like when we're little, we go to elementary school, and we're told to get in line, only raise your hand when you need to, raise your hand if you need to go to the bathroom, speak when you're spoken to, all the other stuff. Like it's very much so. And I think, that has its place, right? Discipline and all that other stuff for humans. But there is a lot of conditioning and a lot of deterring you away from your natural inborn intuition that happens in our society from, societal condition to familial conditioning and all that stuff. And so this freedom paradigm that my divine team has been inviting me into over and over and over, guiding me through it in many different instances. I'm always asking questions, always getting more clarity, more guidance, deeper levels of recognition, deeper levels of awareness, deeper levels of integration into my own life. It's really interesting to me because this natural tendency to want to make things happen feels less and less desirable to me. Like it feels unnecessary. It almost feels like trivial and trite to try and make things happen. And I say that because a huge part of my awareness is how much of a vibrational being we literally are. And I got it on an intellectual level before, a few years ago. I've always had it on an probably more than 4 years, like 5-6 years ago, I got all this stuff mentally, but it's really starting to take shape and like integrate into my life such that I'm literally feeling and like sensing my vibrationality in everything, from my thoughts to my emotions to the sensations in my body, everything so viscerally vibrational. Like I'm sensing at like such a visceral level that it's like hard for me not to notice that I'm creating my own reality, and starting to notice all these sort of underlying emotions and energies and splintered energies everywhere that I'm sort of reclaiming and reintegrating into the wholeness and totality of who I am, such that I'm not sending out multiple different vibes that sort of disrupt the natural flow of abundance and well-being that is already here and naturally here for me. And so it's interesting to me because and I'm still flip-flopping, I'm still vacillating, so I'm not perfect at this, but when I am in the mode of make it happen, it just feels like my body almost like, it's like I've upgraded my body, but it's almost like I cause sickness and disease in my body because I'm out of flow, out of alignment with the natural effortless flow that wants to be here. And the natural flow, because I know who I am and I know that it's a vibrational universe, there's still unconscious and habitual habits of wanting to make things happen, having to have a plan. And there's nothing wrong with having a plan if it feels like fun, and it's like a natural expression and extension of you living in alignment. But what I'm noticing is that when my mind, the conditioned mind, takes over and says I have to have a plan, usually out of fear, usually out of being disconnected from that which I am, or disconnected from the truth that the fact that all my desires are already complete, it creates like this schism in my energy, and I feel it, and I get sick, or like I just get tired, or stressed out, and it's like my tolerance level for that way of living is drastically reduced, right? Like most of us have such high tolerances for living out of alignment that's just become our natural way of living. And now for me in my own journey, it's like flipped on its head, where now living in alignment, like living out of alignment, I have such a low tolerance for it that like I'm becoming sort of a vibrational snob, and less desire to deal with energies within my own energy, let alone other people's energies, but literally less like denser frequencies that just don't align with who I know that I am. And it's so interesting to me. And also another thing that is so interesting to me, because it's just like this natural progression and evolution of my own human journey. And I just wanted to share this because I don't really see people talking about it. And like, it is like, a child learning to walk, right? Like I'm still falling and stumbling here and there, and still returning back to old conditioning here and there. But more and more every day, I'm integrating this sort of intuitive way of living in such a deep level that it almost feels as though I've shifted into, well, it's not almost feels as though I've shifted into a different reality, a different version of living that is really different than what we're taught, And this one is sort of just like a flow of life. If you think of sort of like the Pocahontas movie, and she's like flowing in the wind, like it feels like there's just this natural ebb and flow. And I remember feeling this way when I first had one of the first spiritual awakenings I had at 18, and then another one at 24. But like, it feels like there is this natural flow to life, right? Your soul has its natural like projections, or like intentions, and there's a flow to it, right? But we're so conditioned to live out of that flow that we block abundance and natural ways of being and expressions and passions and explorations so much, that we are so conditioned and just so like we're searching for love, joy, and fulfillment when it's already here, right? So that's the catch-22, right? It's already within us, and we're trying to grasp or push away things that we think aren't for us, or grasp at things that we should be having or whatever. And not to say that our desires aren't valid, they are, but it's like we don't know that when a desire arises naturally, internally, when it's like from the soul, that it does mean it's done, And I'm getting that at like such a deep level, so much so there aren't really words to describe the fullness that I'm feeling. And it's almost like an invincibility cloak. It's like this invincibility like layer of skin, it's really interesting. It's like, it's a matter of factness kind of energy, this certainty, like, of course my well-being is assured, of course abundance is here, of course what I desire, it's so done. Like whatever it is that is arises, it's like, oh yeah, that's done. It's like this energy of like just inner knowing that all is well, even when in the face of shit happening. Like you don't even, it's like this, even if shit quote unquote is happening, it doesn't even feel like the shit matters, because you're so in the vibe of it's already done, or you're so in the vibe of all is well, it doesn't matter what is externally happening, that it doesn't, the externals have no relevance on like who you are, because you know that you're a divine being, and you know that all is always well, and you know that everything is happening for you, and you know that what you desire is already complete, so you don't really need to conjure up a plan to make it happen. Coming up with a plan almost seems like a slap to the universe, right? It's like Like your soul cues up a desire within you, and then the universe is like, okay, bet. If you didn't have any conditioning or any resistance to the desire, then the universe would be like, okay, that's the desire. And it would go to work and do everything that it needs to do to match your vibrational state of being of the completeness of that desire. But when we come up with plans, it's almost like a slap to the universe. And it's sense, because it's like, no, my little human mind has a better plan than you, universe, of infinite potentialities and possibilities, So it feels funny to me almost to make a plan sometimes, because it's like I literally can only conjure up maybe 20 on a good day, 30 at best ideas of ways that my desire can flow to me, but they're literally infinite possibilities, right? In comparison to my little puny human mind, as beautiful as it is. And so it's interesting to me, this sort of dichotomy, right? That's happening. That's this shedding of the old paradigm, the shedding of trying to make things happen, the shedding of just a lot of shit, a lot of beliefs, taking action in order to make things happen. That's a huge one that's like starting to shed even more within me, It's like listening to the intuition and listening to the present moment and being like, what is it like? It's almost like this, what do I want to do now? And I don't necessarily ask myself that question, but it's like the flow just naturally happens, and I just find myself moving into the direction of something that excites me in the moment. Or sometimes I just don't want to do anything. Like yesterday, I just didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to hear other people's thoughts. I didn't want to watch movies or TV. I just really wanted to be in this fullness that I am, and just sit and be present and contemplate it, and just be in the energetic embodiment of it, And it's like a definitely different way of living. It's a more intuitive way of living. And I'm starting to just recognize that more and more. And so this freedom paradigm, it feels effortless. It feels easy. And, in our society, we're always looking like for results, results. What are the results? And I feel like our entire lives is a result of everything that we're here to be and explore and experience. Even the quote unquote crap that happens, it's like freedom is not only, financial freedom or freedom to do what you want to do whenever you want to do it, but it's also like an internal emotional freedom from external circumstances. Like you don't need the world to be a certain way in order for you to experience your divinity. You know what I mean? You don't need, certain, love from external people or things from external sources in order to experience the totality of all that you truly are, right? And it's like this freedom from external pressures, external circumstances, things needing to be a certain way. And it's like this freedom to just be yourself, and this trust and faith and knowing that you being yourself is fully supported. And it just feels so juicy and radically different than the way that we were taught to live. And so, I don't know, I just wanted to share sort of where I've been personally. And see me under the covers, it's like 30 degrees outside. Even though I have my heater on, and I just drank a cold smoothie, so anywho. But yeah, so it's interesting to me, this paradigm and this different way of being. Yeah, I don't really know if I have any more thing to share other than that, but these are just sort of thoughts and things that I've been personally experiencing over the past few weeks, months, that I wanted to share. And it's interesting, just the flow of things, Something that's been interesting also is just the recognition of energies, something that I've done like twice already. When I'm not living in alignment or I'm trying to force something to happen, I like end up hurting myself. So when I'm in the opposite and when I'm in the old paradigm of living, like I smashed my finger the other day. I'm trying to do something because I was trying to rush out the house to try to make something happen. I was like, see, you always end up hurting yourself when you're doing something that you really don't want to be doing, but you think you should be doing because you don't trust that the universe has got your back or that you have your back because you're the one creating your reality. So, yeah, it's interesting. I find that to be interesting. That's this whole other dichotomy. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. The one other thing is just these subtle, like, forms of energy that we don't even notice or recognize that is operating within us. And my divine team talked about that in the reawakening to the law of attraction thing that I did in November or December. And I'll put a link below to that if that's something that you're interested in looking at. But it's interesting to me because it's like there's so many subtle energies that are available or not available, that are happening within us. So many like splintered energies, like different energies. And because I'm an empath, like I feel it so deeply. And it's almost like you're upgrading your software, right? You're upgrading your hard drive and your software. You're just getting a whole new freaking system, right? And getting rid of all the old bugs and things that like are just out of alignment. And that's what it literally feels like. You're like upgrading your DNA. Like sometimes my body feels like it's like not shaking, but like I can feel like my cells accelerating or shifting in some way, or energy just like moving through my body, and like old beliefs like that are like stuck in my body in certain places. Like it's weird, like just moving into this freedom paradigm. Like it's like, and I'm so aware of it, My divine team is always like, it's okay, you're integrating, you're shifting, you're, expanding, da, 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 da. But it's, that's something else that's also interesting to me, because it's like, we don't recognize how dense thought forms are or beliefs are, that they also carry an energetic frequency or signature or, within them. So they literally are like trapped in your body. Like if you have a certain belief about something, like it can get trapped in your body in different ways. And I've been purging a lot of that, literally, over the past couple of months. Been purging a lot of old beliefs, like a lot of like just clearing out a lot of old crap that just no longer resonates. A lot of things that are just, shackles that are just like falling away, shattering, being dismantled within my psyche. And it's just really interesting to me that it's almost like, I guess, a necessary part in order to live free. In order to be free, you have to free yourself from the shackles, right? And you can't be bound anymore. So it's like all these old shackles, and the belief systems are really what the shackles represent. So yeah, it's interesting. But anyways, this journey continues to traverse. The one thing that I will leave is it's so freaking juicy. And fulfilling, and just I don't know, I fully embrace it. Like I embrace this journey, whatever way it leads me. Because there's a lot of energies that I was sort of still contemplating, going back and forth within my own psyche. Like, okay, well, the desire to want to be a superstar or rock star, sort of arose, and I was playing on that playground for a little bit. And I still love singing and dancing and doing all that stuff. I do it pretty much daily, every day in my own house. But the impetus to try and make things happen just feels kind of, not to say that I won't work on a business or, release music or anything like that. But I don't know. I just feel like I'm in a different way of living that I don't know how this is going to manifest. And I'm almost scared to even say, I don't want to try to commit to anything. That's a big thing, because it's like with this energy, it's so not unpredictable, but it is unpredictable because I don't know what way the wind is going to blow me. And so I'm like this leaf in the wind saying, carry me. I surrender. And I have no clue what is going to arise, the passions that arise, the passions that dissipate. And I'm just sitting there in stillness and nothing's happening. And, on a human level, that's very scary to the egoic or the conditioned mind. Like you need to have a purpose. You need to have a plan. You need to do something with your life in order for your life to have meaning, and it's like all that energy is shedding, and it's kind of interesting. I don't know. It's just I'm vacillating between these two paradigms, right? The old paradigm of, everything I just stated versus the freedom paradigm. And, what I noticed is that the old paradigm literally feels heavy in my heart. It feels like, ugh, and it feels like my soul is just like, bitch, just release that already. There's so much more for you over here on the freedom playground. When you release the old stuff, you'll see how much more shit you actually do get done, or how much things just naturally happen because you ain't having to work so goddamn hard. So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting journey for sure. An interesting journey for sure. And even like dealing with other humans who don't get it, and just setting boundaries and being like, oh no, I'm not really interested in that, or not really wanting to talk to people sometimes. I find that I definitely am more of a loner sometimes. Sometimes I come out of my shell and I play on that human playground and talk to people in their various different forms and states of consciousness. I can play on that playground without needing them to be a certain way or needing them to be enlightened or awakened or whatever. Like I can still enjoy the humanness and yet still be vastly aware of who I truly am at the same time. I don't know, it's weird. It's a weird dichotomy. So there's so many different flavors of life that's just unfolding in my own life that I just kind of wanted to share and document this. I don't know if I'll share this to anybody else, but I do want to just document this process because it's been ever going for me for the last few months. Really for the last few years, honestly, but it's really been integrating at a deeper level over the last few months. So anyways, that's all I wanted to share. See you when I see you next time. And that's another thing that I wanted to share also. I think I'm just going to, I don't know, we'll see. Because I go through, like I said, I'm vacillating between the old paradigm and the new paradigm. And so sometimes the old paradigm sort of takes over and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then very shortly after, my higher self is like, okay, we'll see. It's going to end up my way anyways. So it's like the idea of me being consistent at anything just feels like I just need to give up on that concept, give up on the concept of being a YouTuber or a singer-songwriter or anything. And it's not that I'm not going to build a business or anything like that, but it's not going to be the way in which I've been conditioned to believe that it's going to happen. And I'm learning to trust that more and more, learning to trust. It's definitely a journey, but because there is not many blueprints of people living this way, people just living the freedom paradigm, people who just wake up and do what they love to do, people who just wake up and follow their bliss, people who just wake up and live intuitively. That's not really a model in our society, right? Like there's not many movies, television shows, commercials, anything in the entertainment industry, anything in our societal living. Like no one's really talking about this shit. No one's talking about living intuitively. It's all about that hustle and that grind, or, follow your passions. But it's like from this very masculine, like imbalanced way, that totally disregards not just the feminine, but like the heart and the soul and the intuitive guidance, So it's a different way of living for sure. And I feel like there are people who live this way. Maybe I need to get on Gaia TV and watch, because maybe some other people are definitely more so living this way. But yeah. Okay. See you when I see you next time.